Welcome back, everybody. We're going to dive right into it with this week's 2013's The Lone Ranger, starring Johnny Depp and pre-cannibalism Armie Hammer. Plot breakdown, silver, actual cannibalism, westerns, dead bird, bad guys, silver again, the good. The cast in this movie is pretty great. You do have Armie Hammer as Lone Ranger, Johnny Depp as Tonto, William Fichtner as our snaggletooth bad guy. You have Helena Bonham Carter, who has a bone to pick with the snaggletooth bad guy. Tom Wilkinson as our dapper bad guy. This movie has a pretty stacked cast. Everybody does pretty well. They really take their Western personalities, their Western personas. They all have their own different accents, their different regional accents, which is nice, so you can see where they come from across the board. Everybody has their own way that they carry themselves. Everyone has their own way that they handle the gunplay and everything like that. It makes all of these characters feel real. It makes them all feel lived in, as opposed to a bunch of stage actors just rolling up and then they're like, here's the gun, have fun. The title character, of course, is played by Armie Hammer. And when we first meet him, he's on the train, he's heading into town, and he starts off as this wide-eyed, bushy-tailed guy he's going to bring justice to the West, but he's going to bring it the legal way, the way that Uncle Sam wants to do things now, by the book. Which, of course, I mean, you don't come to see a movie called The Lone Ranger and, you know, expect law and order, the old Western court proceedings. Over the course of the movie, when he starts to get enveloped and engulfed in all of this old-school Western animosity, you see that he starts off as very unsure with a gun. You know, he's not very confident. He's not very good at horse riding. As he adapts that Lone Ranger persona, and the movie goes on more and more and more, closer to the end, you see that there's that huge confidence about him to the point where he's able to handle a gun very well. He's able to ride the horse extremely well. And he's able to carry himself well. And there's that doubt and that kind of goofy foolishness that was there at the beginning is gone. He does a great job of showing that escalation for the character. And then, of course, you know, the sidekick, although I'm putting that in quotes because this is just as much his movie as it is The Lone Ranger. You have Tonto, played by Johnny Depp, who has a very good performance that he turns in as well. A lot of comparisons were made to Jack Sparrow. I gotta disagree. If we pull it back, I mean, really, this is a kid who was scarred. You know, he thought that he was helping out by seeing two people that needed it, so he'd bring him there, back to his village in order to nurse him back to good health. And of course that backfired on him. They slaughtered his entire village and his people, and they just left him. He has that brokenness to him, where he's been on this hell-bent revenge mission his entire life to hunt down the Wendigo. There's a lot of nuance to the character. Of course, there's a lot of over-the-top goofiness to the character, but it's in the smaller, more quieter character moments where he really, really shines, where he has a lot of emotion. Because he doesn't have a lot of speaking parts, but Johnny Depp does a lot with his eyes, a lot with his facial expressions that really show just how deep rooted this character is. And then, of course, on the flip side of that coin, we have our bad guys played by Tom Wilkinson and William Fichtner. Tom Wilkinson, of course, is the dapper, well-spoken, the educated, well-dressed bad guy, as opposed to William Fichtner's more down and dirty, old-school cowboy bad guy, so to speak. William Fichtner, he does a great job of just being evil. Evil for the sake of evil, just because that's what the character it needs. Like that's what the movie calls for, and that's totally fine. See, because if it was just him, if it was just William Fichtner, then the movie would not have worked as well as it does, because you're just like, all right, well, we have a bad guy. What's really the motivation behind that besides, you know, getting silver? You have Tom Wilkinson's character, who is really pulling the strings this entire time. He is a board member for the Cross-Continental Railroad, and he is basically doing this to just obtain silver and to make millions upon millions of dollars. They do a great job. You know, they have a really solid villainy foundation in order for our good guys and basically everybody around them to kind of fight against. Another really good thing about this movie is the action. It's a Western. Of course, you're going to have your shootouts and all, but we've had a million Westerns before, and we've had a million more shootouts than that before. So how do you, in this day and age, make a Western exciting, make it new? How do you take an action scene or a shootout and make it exciting, make it new? You get the guy that did Pirates of the Caribbean to come in and make it as inventive and crazy as humanly possible. You have a train, okay? Trains can go one or two ways. They can either go forward or they can go backwards. Here, we have a lot of dynamic stuff going on with these train scenes. I mean, we're going up, we're going down, we're going in circles around them. They're using the environment to the best of their ability, and it works so very well. There's never an action scene that's boring. I mean, hell, the final action scene alone, the chase scene, so to speak, is one long 7.5 minute scene set to Hans Zimmer's version of the William Tell Overture. It involves multiple trains and then different varying perspectives and different, verticalities and everything like that. That all culminates into one giant grand finale with a blown up bridge. I mean, they get inventive, they get creative, and then even in the smaller, more intimate action scenes, so to speak, that take place in a barn that's on fire, they still get creative and they still get wild and they still get inventive with it. It's handled extremely well because a lot of this stuff is done practically. You have stuff that happens on trains, well, we have our actors on trains. You have stuff that happens with horses, we have our actors on horses. They built these great big sets out in the Midwest and they look beautiful. And that's another positive thing about this movie. It is the set design, the stage design, all of it. When you have, the Lone Ranger and everybody riding into town, then it's a real town. They built this town and it looks incredible. And now for the bad. Honestly, there really isn't much bad to say about this movie, with the exception of the tone. This movie's very confused about what it wants to be at some points. Modern, updated, really action-oriented Western with a lot of the shootouts and the way that it handles itself in the vein of like a Sergio Leone style movie. Horror movie. With the way that one of the main bad guys, William Fichtner, literally eats human hearts. It'd be a love story, but it doesn't fully commit to that. But what it does do successfully is, be fun, of course, but it never really nails down the right tone until the end. The final half hour is when it settles on that tone, and then you feel it. You can feel the movie come to life. It sheds off everything that it tried to be, and then just rolls with it. It has a great time, full steam ahead, baby. My movie recommendation for you for the weekend is 2013's The Lone Ranger, starring Johnny Depp and Armie Hammer. This is not a bad movie. It's a confused movie. It's not entirely sure what it wants to be up until the end. But the movie's fun, it's thrilling, it's exciting, it's heartbreaking, it's a rip-roaring adventure. If you want a good Western, check this movie out. If you want an adventure movie that has the same kind of heart and soul that Pirates of the Caribbean did, go ahead and check this movie out. This movie is great. It's a lot of fun. And unfortunately, just like John Carter, it didn't make the money. It didn't draw in the crowds. And it's not going to get a sequel, which is so heartbreaking because we finally, at the end of the movie, of course, just like with John Carter, we have our title character fully embrace who he's meant to be, what he's supposed to be, and it's great. It puts a smile on your face, but of course, here we are, 8 years later, and still nothing. If you guys have seen The Lone Ranger for 2013, let me know down in the comments below. If you love this movie as much as I do, let me know down in the comments below. If you're sitting there and you're putting 2 and 2 together and you realize that first it was John Carter and now I'm doing The Lone Ranger, and you have a pretty solid idea of what the next movie is that I'm going to cover, definitely let me know down in the comments below because I'm pretty sure I'm going to throw that curveball at you. And until next time, guys, this has been VHS Tacos signing off. We'll see you guys on the next video. Adios.